Okay, so we just talked about what mining is and what are different types of materials that we mine. So now let's look at different types of mining and how destructive they can be to the earth. So the first one that we're going to look at is what's called surface mining. So this is going to be materials that are close to the surface of the earth and they're easier to get to. Now, by looking at these top two pictures, you can see that it still is incredibly damaging to the earth. It's not like the gold and the diamonds are just sitting on top. We have to actually dig in the earth to get to them. So with surface mining, the minerals are close to the surface of the earth. Okay, now, typically what you're going to see here is we have to remove large portions of rock and soil, and that has to be put somewhere. So there typically is going to be a lot of waste associated with mining as well. So we are removing large portions of soil and rock. Now, this large portions of soil and rock we call overburden. Okay, so basically they dig this out, they create a massive waste pile to the side, and then when they're done at this location, by federal law, they have to try to restore the area to as close to its original condition as possible, and that's what reclamation is. Okay, so right here, these two types of mining are examples of what we call strip mining. So by looking at this, you can see that literally layer after layer of the earth is stripped away. Okay, I know it looks like steps, but they're actually huge differences between one and the next one. Now, what are some potential effects of this to the environment other than it obviously being ugly and damaging? So they have to remove vegetation, and from the soil lab that you guys watched, remember the water that was poured into the different types of containers? If you remove vegetation, what are you actually causing to the soil? You're going to cause increased erosion because those roots keep that soil in place, and that's obviously not here. So anytime water is going to be added to this location, it rains, it's going to cause massive amounts of erosion. All right, so it leads to more erosion. All right, now these are surface mining. These are two other examples of surface mining. Now, these are not strip mining, so this one is basically what we call mountaintop removal. So this is a mountain that is currently being mined, and they've taken away massive chunks of it, and they usually have to do this with dynamite. And this one is they're basically dredging the surface of a lake or of a river, and you can see how heavily polluted this water is now. So other than removing vegetation and causing more erosion, you're also causing massive habitat destruction for any types of native wildlife, native plants that live here. All right, so mining waste, okay, includes soil, rock, and something called slag. Oop, that is not. Slag, okay? Slag is basically the stony waste that we can't do anything with. After you separate the rock from the mineral itself. So think about a diamond. Okay, when we take a diamond out of the earth, it doesn't actually look beautiful and polished. Okay, it's pretty ugly. When you chip away all of that rock from the diamond itself, that is a type of waste called slag. And it is a separate type of waste from soil and rock. All right, so slag is stony waste from separating rock and mineral. Okay, rock and mineral. Now, when we have mining, another side effect is it also leaves behind what we call tailings. Okay, so tailings are basically mine waste that we can track. We can see the movement. We can see where water has moved the waste. We can see where wind has moved the waste. And it's typically like a trail. Okay, like it says a tail. Think of that as like a tail. You can actually see the movement of it from its original location. And typically the tailings are made up of minerals not kept. So sometimes when they dig stuff up, it's not worth enough to keep. So it's tossed out. All right, so that was surface mining. Our next type is going to be subsurface mining. So obviously this is going to be below the surface. So you have to dig way down into the earth. And typically, you know, if you look at the picture, guys, you're going to have different types of mines. And this is when you see people actually working underground. And these are typically going to be things like the most well-known examples of this are coal mines or gold mines. So this is what we use when accessible reserves are gone. So if we can't get to coal or gold very easily through surface mining, we have to dig deeper, and that's when subsurface mining comes into play. And typically, when we're recovering stuff from subsurface mining, it's going to be lower grade material, meaning it's going to be lower quality, it's going to have more impurities in it. So typically, this is going to be lower grade ores. Okay, and one of the big cons to doing subsurface mining, other than the damage you're doing to the planet, is this is very expensive. So you have to take into account the amount of money it is going to cost to have the machinery to dig this deep, the fossil fuels needed to power that machinery, the extra pay that you have to give to the actual miners to do this, because this is way more dangerous than surface mining. Okay, and there have been lots of accidents where mines have collapsed and people get trapped. So I'm going to be posting a discussion post about the Chile mine accident that happened a few years ago. So you'll kind of understand how all this works. All right, so let's look at a specific mining disaster. So the Gold King mine. The Gold King mine is in Colorado. It's outside of a little town called Silverton, Colorado. And I love this. I love Silverton. I love this town. I've been there many, many times. I grew up going there as a kid. So this one is a little bit personal to me. So if you haven't been to Colorado, it is a beautiful state. I really encourage you to just take a road trip. Okay, just go. The mountains, the scenery, the air is fresher. It's just an amazing place to be. So the Gold King mine is an abandoned mine. It is not an open mine anymore. They're not currently using it to find gold. So it is an abandoned mine in Colorado. Okay? So what's crazy about this is I believe this happened in 2015. Okay? So I think that was the last time I was there. It was in 2015. This happened right after I left. So this right here is the Animas River. Okay? The Animas River became contaminated. 3 million gallons of mining wastewater spilled in Colorado's Animas River. Okay? So what happened is the EPA was there helping to clean out this abandoned mine. There was some wastewater that was trapped in there that they were trying to clean out. And in the process of them trying to clean it out, they actually caused all of that wastewater to drain out of the mine and into the Animas River. So the EPA is the one that actually caused this to happen. So the EPA, or the Environmental Protection Agency, caused the accident. Okay, they caused the accident while attempting to drain wastewater. Okay, so they are responsible for paying it up, or for cleaning it up and for paying for that. So the Animas River does not look like this anymore. So this is very dirty, rusty water that has lots of toxins in it. Lots of wildlife here tragically died because of this. So it does not look like this anymore, but there are still long-term effects. All right, so legislation. This is one of those pieces of legislation that I believe you guys had to learn about at the very beginning of the school year. So the Surface Mining Control and Reclamation Act of 1977 is a federal law. And it says that the land must be reclaimed and minimally disturbed. Now, you go back and look at those strip mining pictures, guys. Does that look like it's been minimally disturbed? No. Reclaimed means returning to an improved state. So, what these mining companies have to do is they have to pay for that area to be returned to basically a better condition that they found it in, which is a really difficult thing to do when you've done that much damage to the earth. So mining in general is really expensive, and a lot of mining companies will just leave and abandon it. And it's hard to enforce that when you don't have a very large organization within the EPA that controls this. And the EPA only employs like 2 people for the entire nation to monitor this stuff. So it's basically an impossible task. So, you know, this is where being a responsible business owner, being a responsible human being, and taking care of the planet is really, really important. And it forces citizens like us to demand more responsibility on behalf of these companies. So hopefully you guys understand mining a little bit more from this. And the next time I see you guys, we'll be talking about farming.